The bigger they are, the harder they fall. And Roblox is finding that out the hard way. This is a company that went from the biggest kids game in the world, billions in revenue, and tens of millions of daily players, to losing $12 billion in a single week, getting banned in multiple countries, sued by governments for protecting predators. Roblox has spent years pretending their platform was safe, while predators ran wild in Batroom Simulators and Meep City. And now, Chris Hansen is involved. Like, how do you screw up so bad that the To Catch a Predator guy shows up? And all this started with one ban. Let's get into it.
Roblox has just lost $12 billion in market value following their response to their cease and desist letter against me. Just for context, I'm someone who's gotten 6 predators within their community arrested in real life.
This is like a restaurant suing the food inspector because he found rats in the kitchen. And here's what baffles me about this entire situation. If you have an entire niche dedicated to catching predators on your game, like this guy has made a significant amount of money, by the way. He's found employment, he's found a career catching predators off your game. Doesn't that indicate to you that something is wrong? And to be fair, this isn't necessarily about Schlep. This is about signaling to investors, signaling to shareholders, and to anyone with eyes, basically, and that Roblox isn't plagued with a significant amount of predators. But what ended up happening was they fucked with the worst guy they could do this to. This is the type of PR stunt you would do to a small-time creator, not someone who can command the attention of 5.8 million people, 2.2, 3.9, 2 million people per video. This is like shaking the hornet's nest and thinking everything's gonna be okay. This is a bad decision. I mean, it's a fucking kids game. And I'm sorry if this is going to sound, kind of wrong, but if you're going to fish, you gotta fish where the fish are, right? Predators on this kids game, especially at this size. And so it's obvious this kind of game is going to attract a lot of these predators, a lot of these animals. And this happens in every game, not just Roblox. Any game that attracts kids at a certain age level, which by the way is any game in the world right now, is going to attract predators to some degree. It just so happens you've got an all-you-can-eat buffet when the house doesn't kick these weirdos out.
Loss, though, isn't on me. It's a direct result of Roblox's own response to its child safety crisis. Instead of addressing the real issues, Roblox has doubled, tripled, even quadrupled down. They've put out statements after statements painting me and my team as reckless vigilantes while claiming that their platform is safe, when it absolutely is not.
Basically, there are only 2 logical conclusions I can come to when I hear something like this. 1, Roblox is trying to protect their reputation and evade accountability by actively silencing people who are exposing their platform for what they are. Or 2, some people at Roblox really like kids. They're actively trying to use the platform to fulfill their fantasies of that forbidden fruit. And it's absolutely deranged and sick how they can think like this. And that's allegedly, by the way. And obviously, what Schlep is doing isn't anything sort of the vigilante they're trying to paint him out to be. It's a clear manipulation of the word. A vigilante is someone who takes justice into their own hands. They perform the arrest. They perform their own brand of justice against the perceived criminals. And I say perceived because there are a lot of vigilantes out there who are just plain simple insane. But this isn't what Schlep was doing. Schlep was actively working with the police, gathering evidence and providing that evidence to the police for them to act upon. That's all he was doing. And from what I remember, the police have thanked him for his efforts. If someone did my job, like 90% of my job, I mean, fuck me, I would say thank you too.
People are just seeing through this, and that's why a huge movement has started online called Free Schlep. It's been trending everywhere. Multiple members of Congress have now called out the company's abuse problem. And the Attorney General of Louisiana has filed a giant lawsuit against the company for, and I quote, prioritizing user growth, revenue, and profits over child safety. The day after.
And this is exactly why they're doing what they're doing. What do you think parents are going to do when they find out how bad the predator situation is on Roblox? No, Johnny, you can't play with the diddler on Roblox. Not today, not ever again. Go to your room. No, Johnny, stop it. No more Roblox for you. Like, holy, it's not even that hard to get rid of these people. You can filter out certain words, certain phrases, and detect whenever these people use these words repeatedly. You can have your own undercover agents like Schlep, going in, baiting these disgusting animals and turning them over to the police. You can do all that by yourselves. Yes, by yourselves. I think if you have a game where a majority of your player base is under the age of 18, then you have an obligation to society, to your players, to the law, to make sure you keep your goddamn players safe.
After the Attorney General's lawsuit was filed, Roblox's market value dropped by $12 billion. In response, the company scrambled to roll out new policies targeting the very not safe for work games featured in the lawsuit and my videos, like for instance bathroom simulators. Mind you, the community has been calling out these games for years now, but
like, come on, bathroom simulator, like really? Why would any game that's catering to kids need a bathroom simulator? If not for the sole purpose of, like have some damn common sense. Even if the intent was different with creating this server, I don't know what kind of fucking intent you would need to have to even think of a server like this for a kids game. But sure, people who see Bathroom Simulator as the name of the server, I mean, you're going to attract a very specific demographic of people. And again, you can have undercover agents in the server to identify these animals and, get them arrested. But bottom line is, you're creating an environment where these animals thrive. Like you've created a fucking safari, a preservation for these pigs to roam free and do whatever they want without consequence. And from what I know, Roblox is painting out Schlep to be one of the people who are creating the environment for these predators in the first place. So isn't that a little hypocritical when you leave a server like this up?
But still, even after everything, instead of removing these blatantly inappropriate experiences, Roblox simply slapped a 17+ label on them. They also
17. Jesus, 17. What do these kids know when they're 17? Nothing. When I was 17, the biggest problem I had was the test I didn't study for because I was too busy playing fucking games. Like, people don't know shit when they're 17.
Also launched a ban wave against some of the worst games they've knowingly hosted for years. Games that have led thousands of children to getting extorted, and worse. Roblox's actions are nothing more than damage control for the problems they've allowed to fester.
And they're only starting now because they got caught. It's so obvious. They're like a frog in boiling water right now.
The entire community was screaming at them to fix these problems. And the community saw that killing the messenger was an act of war. Shortly after these changes, Roblox released a video so bad that it was community noted on Twitter twice. David Baszucki, the CEO of Roblox, Matt Kaufman, the Chief Safety Officer of Roblox, and Eliza Jacobs, the Senior Director of Product Policy, did a 45-minute tech talk. Most of this is just corporate jumbo, but they go ahead and respond directly to their vigilante policy. Before I show this,
I would love to talk to the genius who came up with the solution, like really. What backwards logic do you need to have to shoot the messenger? Like, if they really wanted to protect their reputation, they could have just left it as is. Like, 100%. They could have just kept with the status quo, and I'm not saying that's right. I'm saying if they didn't want to spend more on moderating their game, they didn't want to spend time protecting kids, they could have just, done nothing. And it's obvious they didn't want to do any of those. So the only logic is, if we get rid of the person who is catching all the predators in our game, that would essentially mean we eliminate all the predators. It's so fucking genius. but it's so stupid at the same time.
I want you to remember, I'm the only person that Roblox has targeted with this vigilante policy that they just created. Not even my team was moderated or given any legal letter. I begged for a clear line and even offered to keep much of my work private to help, and I'm no way obligated to do that, but instead, they went straight after me, moderating my accounts and sending a cease and desist before I could even react to the policy.
And the reason why they did this is Schlep is one of the biggest content creators doing this type of content. So if they made an example out of him, well, look at how that's going. Everybody would follow suit. And that's just how it is. And it's exactly how it's going to go, by the way, with their company. Their reputation is going to get dragged through the mud. Their CEO is going to get dragged through the mud. They've already been banned in multiple countries. And they are going to be the #1 example of what happens when you protect criminals. And because of this incident, by the way, there is going to be a massive reckoning with how governments assess child safety on the internet. This is most likely going to be the turning point at which Real ID on the internet is introduced, because once you have Real ID on the internet, most of these problems just go away. And I'm not saying I like that idea. In fact, I hate that idea. I'm saying this is the solution, and with that solution, there's a lot of problems that come with it. But at the same time, this will solve most problems right now, forever. Once you have Real ID on the internet, you will be able to identify who is talking to who is saying what to who, what is being said to who, and who needs to be hanged whenever something like this happens.
Let's be clear about one thing. I'm not a vigilante. That means I'm taking the law into my own hands. We work with law enforcement, which is why we have arrests. Roblox.
The reason why they're calling Schlep a vigilante, by the way, is because it makes him easier to attack. It paints him out to be someone on the loose with their own brand of justice. Being a vigilante isn't always a good association. And these are how companies and people in general, how they justify their actions by labeling you as something evil, something not part of the system, something that's okay to attack. Take a look when certain people were calling the opposing party Nazis. Nazis. This is the exact same justification for attacking Schlep, which is completely manipulative, by the way. This is extremely disingenuous and bets on the idea that the people who are watching are stupid, that the people who are watching don't have the brain power to realize the manipulation that's going on.
Refuses to say my name because they'd have to acknowledge those arrests. But make no mistake, they're responding to the outrage, which is about me, and this is what they had to say about it. They first start off the interview by talking about how vigilantes started out as a good thing.
Both inside of Roblox, and I think that there are lots of people outside of Roblox who really have the best intentions and the welfare of our community at heart. We all...
Okay, then why not work with them to solve your problem? It's basically free labor. I'm sure a lot of people in the community would like this problem eradicated. Like eradicated. And they would be willing to work with you for free.
all want to keep Roblox safe. And you know what? We welcome them in part of the dialogue about how to keep Roblox safer. And
this is the problem with these executives. Do you think any one of these people actually play the game they're in charge of? Look at these people. They look 40 years old, 50 years old. Do you think they even like the game they're in charge of? Do you think they have the time and day to actually get in their game and play their game for more than 8 hours a week? Do you think they actively go into the public bathroom server, go into Meep City, into all these weird servers and experience what Schlep has experienced firsthand? I don't think so. I don't think that's happening.
we have members of the community in these vigilante groups that started off in a really good place. They started off by saying like, hey, they're reporting on issues on Roblox. They're talking about how we could do better. And, you know, we paid really careful attention.
Yeah, good job. You paid really careful attention to not let it ruin your reputation, because once your reputation is a platform of predators, is a platform of grooming, there's no coming back from that.
This statement is just laughably hilarious. If Roblox is really paying attention, then what about when my mom emailed you guys about my own case? What did you do then? Nothing. Actually, you kept paying the guy for years afterwards until you were literally forced to do something about it.
And this is absolutely what I was talking about a while ago. The only reason you would indirectly protect predators on your platform like this is because you have predators staffed on your team. It's because they want to keep the pond full of fish. If there's one, there's more. And the people who prey on kids, do you really think they keep to themselves? Do you not think that they work in groups? They have their little group chat where they pass on their tips and tricks, where they flaunt their achievements to each other. I mean, it's not out of this world to imagine something like that would be possible. It could happen. And so whenever you catch one of these people, maybe look into their phones, look into their messages, through their call logs, and you'll be surprised. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if this problem was even worse than we're seeing right now. Think about everything you know about this game. Think about every single action, every single word they've spoken about predators, about Schlep. This game, this company, is like a safe haven for all these animals. I don't even have to say it. They're saying it themselves.
We're literally forced to do something about it. If what Roblox was claiming was actually true, them listening to the community, why are the biggest content creators leaving your exclusive YouTuber program in protest of how you're moderating your platform? And I'm gonna actually bring up something later in this interview to show you how much of a joke this is. This here is Meep City, one of the most controversial games on Roblox. Creecraft, one of the largest Roblox YouTubers, joined this game and within 4 seconds was exposed to not safe for work content. The community has been complaining about this game for almost a decade now, but Roblox has still continued to leave this game up and platform it. But CEO David Baszucki mentions this game by name, and here's their philosophy on this.
I can see some of our community naming experiences on Roblox and just say, take it down, take it down, take it down. I'd say examples could be Meep City, for example. Can you share, why should that be up? Should that be down?
Instead of asking the question why it should be up or why it should be down, why don't all three of you get in the game and experience it firsthand? And I'm sure you'll come to your own conclusions as to why it should be down or why it should be up. And this is the problem with a lot of these bigwig CEOs. They have become so disillusioned with how ground operations are, they have no idea what's really going on. They have no idea what's going on inside their game. They have no idea what's going on with the developers. All they care about is maintaining their reputation and the money that precedes it. Because to be fair, that's their job. They have other people below them who are supposed to give them the proper information so they can make high-level decisions. But what happens when there's an information breakdown? But then you go look at this guy's face. You go look at this guy's word choice, the language. I really don't think this is someone who is naive, who has no idea what's going on. It's obvious he has some perception of what's going on. He has some idea. This is someone who probably doesn't understand the full picture or the severity of what's happening, and is just playing dumb right now. And a lot of people do this when they're caught. They play dumb because they don't want to be pressed. They don't want to take accountability for having their game labeled as the Garden of Eden for the forbidden fruit. They don't want to be labeled as the preservation for these animals. Even 5 seconds of critical thinking. Why would anyone want a server where the name is Public Bathroom Simulator in a kid's game? Nobody's pointing a gun to your head, making you say these things. Just take accountability for the lack of inaction, and for the love of God, play your own game so you can realize and experience the problem yourself, instead of being told secondhand information, and secondhand information from who, by the way? That's also important. So it's possible you're being fed false information, so now you're forced to play stupid. Because as soon as you acknowledge the problem, well, what? The CEO of the game doesn't know what's going on inside his own game? That's kind of absurd to say in of itself.
What's up?
I think one thing that's really challenging on this global immersive interactive platform is that we have content created by developers and creators and content created by the community, by the users that are in that game. And one thing that we really try to do is be fair to our developers and to not moderate them for the behavior of their users.
What? What if the developers themselves are the problem? That's not really a fair take. What, just because you're on the Roblox team? means you're absolved of any wrongdoing. It means you never have any evil intentions when you join the company. This is such an absurd thing to say that remove any and all accountability from your own team. You've already had an instance in the past where your own developer groomed Schlep, which turned into a $12 billion problem. But let's say it's not even the developer, right? Let's give them that. If the developers aren't the problem, take a look at every single person who has actively participated multiple times in that server. Take a look at their chat logs. Take a look at the people who they interacted with, how they interacted with these people. Did they ever ask for pictures? Did they ever ask for home addresses? Did they ever ask for anything sensitive? And then flag these people and monitor them closely. And if they are found to be under suspicion, forward the evidence to the authorities. It's just so simple.
Them for the behavior of their users.
How is this a crazy math problem? This is so simple. The creator of this game wants these people in their game. How is this even controversial? The developer is giving the tools to the player to make this inappropriate content.
But to be fair, the developers aren't telling these creators to make the inappropriate content. But also to be fair, it is also their job to moderate their underage community. Just like it's a teacher's job in grade school and high school and all the schools to give their students the tools, the critical thinking, the knowledge to do well in life, it is the same when you give tools to creators, especially to kids. Because whatever they do with those tools is your responsibility. It's your game. If you give a gun to every single person in the world and you say, have at it, it's a free-for-all, what the hell do you think is going to happen? The same way when you have rules that aren't enforced, if you have any rules at all.
And that is the problem with Roblox. Roblox turns a blind eye unless the developers are blatantly making not safe for work games. And even then, it is still on the line if Roblox will take action. Roblox might have just went back on their word regarding Meep City.
And this is just me putting on my tinfoil hat for a moment, just for a moment. I'm sure that the initial intent when they made Roblox was truly to make a fun interactive game for kids to enjoy. But what ended up happening over time was it became a swamp, where all these goddamn swamp monsters were given a place they can call home. If you want to commit crimes, you go to a place where you can get away with that crime. And honestly, I think Roblox, as it is now, is that place. Both internally in the game and internally at Roblox headquarters. This is a place where they can call home. This is a place where they're safe, because as long as you're not being overtly stupid about it, most of these assholes are not going to get caught. In fact, the company is on your side. That's what their actions are telling me, especially the people who have gotten into the company. These are goddamn parasites that need to be removed ASAP. And I really don't know how deep it goes with these people. It might be the CEO. It might be even the chief safety officer. It might be all of them. I really don't know. But it's definitely worse than we think.
This game had every inappropriate feature removed from it pretty much overnight. It's unknown if...
Wait, what? Overnight? So, like, be realistic. 1 to 3 days. They were able to solve this problem in 1 to 3 days. And all they needed was $12 billion evaporating from under their asses. Really push them to work, huh? When your entire livelihood, when your entire reputation is on the brink of collapse, it really makes you work hard. You know, just a tiny bit harder. Just a tiny bit.
Roblox made Alex Neutron, the creator of Meep City, do this. But either way, it shows the public pressure is working. Games that Roblox is doubling down on are folding. So that's why it's really important to keep speaking up about this.
And it's not even that they're folding, just straight up take the server offline. It's that easy. Take every single server that's even mildly inappropriate offline and have those creators justify why the server deserves to be reinstated. And mildly inappropriate means use some common sense. If the server name is weird as fuck, take it offline. If the server has been reported before for any safety issue, take it offline. And have those same creators justify why the server deserves to be reinstated, why the server is safe for kids. Are the rules in place? Is the rules being followed, enforced? What is the moderation team doing? And really, it's just that simple. It might seem extreme. Well, $12 billion just evaporated in 9 days. I don't think anything is more extreme than that.
Then we saw something change. What we saw is that some of these groups started engaging with the community in ways that violated our policies. And so let me explain what that means. They would go and create accounts on Roblox claiming to be a child.
Okay, so what? People pretend to be something they're not all the time. And you have literal predators doing the exact same thing. When you are presented with a PR decision about whether or not to ban the individual taking care of the predator problem, or the actual predator, I think the decision is, pretty simple and pretty straightforward. You don't really need to think about it. Unless you have some hidden agendas, and which we've already discussed. What the hell do they think Schlep is supposed to do to catch these predators when he doesn't have the same tools available to your developers? He doesn't get to monitor chat messages. So what is he supposed to do? He's supposed to just ask every single person if they're a predator? And they're just supposed to say yes? This guy is just so delusional. He's not delusional. He knows exactly what he's doing, what he's saying. So delusional isn't the right word I would use. He's just spineless.
To be a child.
Roblox keeps repeating this same talking point, that I'm impersonating and pretending to be a child. But here's the reality. You have to pretend to be a child because if the predators knew they were talking to an adult, that wouldn't even be a crime. You guys seem to be more upset that I'm pretending to be a child than predators are decoys. And if it wasn't our decoys, it would be a real person. It's also worth noting that the FBI, ICAC, and local law enforcement all use these same exact tactics. Would Roblox be willing to send them a cease and desist too? And their claim...
Well, it's pretty simple. The reason why they don't send them a cease and desist is because they're the government. They're a more powerful and bigger entity than Roblox is. And the reason why they sent you a cease and desist is because you're just a YouTuber. You're nobody. You're just an average person with a huge following, an average person with the ability to control attention, an average person with the ability to put a $12 billion loss on their laps. An average person. That's who you are.
That I'm impersonating children is flat out false. Impersonation means I'm stealing the identity of a real child. From the very beginning, we've never used real kids. We don't send pictures of real children, and we create totally new identities where every single photo that's sent is of someone that is of age. The only difference is we tell these people that we are underage. This is...
I don't see any problem with doing this. Nobody's, really getting hurt. The only people who are getting hurt are the predators when they realize, they're not eating tonight. Sorry, but that's disgusting, right? And so Roblox, and honestly, if Roblox championed Schlep and made him into one of their spokespeople for their content moderation operations team, for example, this problem would just go away just like that. And it just comes back to what is the one thing that has to be true to make the decision logical, is that they're hiding literal predators in the actual Roblox teams. Because even when you think about it, when you think that they're trying to ban Schlep for exposing the predator situation, when you're trying to ban Schlep for being a vigilante on Roblox, because it's hurting their reputation, because it's dangerous, even that doesn't make sense because of the potential second-order consequences that could have happened, which have already happened. These people are not stupid. They have multiple teams. These people are not stupid. They have multiple teams on teams of PR, people whose only job is to prevent these things from happening. This is a goddamn multi-billion-dollar company. These types of decisions go through many levels of people before they're approved. You think not a single person of sane mind would stop them and say, you know what? Maybe calling out one of the biggest YouTubers who are catching predators, who gets 2 to 6 million views per video, maybe, sending him a cease and desist would actually bring more attention to the situation than letting it be. Nah, send it. Fucking stupid, bro.
Flat out a lie what they're claiming. But what happens next is so wild that the CEO of Roblox cuts off the chief safety officer.
And then they would enter into game servers and they would go and start asking everybody around them, how old are you? And they were seeking out adults. If you said that you were, move on. But if you said that you were 25, then they would start engaging in conversations and they would try and use those conversations to simulate.
Matt, is this anecdote?
Like, Jesus Christ, man. Look at how squirmy he gets. To a certain degree, I know he knows this is happening 100%. It's impossible for him not to know. But come on, Brody. Don't make it too obvious. Don't make it too easy. Like, really.
Because I know we have chat logs for all chat on Roblox and historical records. So are you able to kind of...
David totally derails that conversation. That statement is probably the most wild made by Matt Kaufman in this whole interview. To simulate what, Matt Kaufman? Because it's not simulation. These are predators thinking that they're talking to someone that is real. And they a lot of times want to show up in person and do stuff to them in real life. And in my opinion, this shows how little Roblox actually cares about this problem.
This guy cares more about being politically right than actually addressing the issue because he absolutely knows the natural conclusion to what the chief safety officer was about to say is that those same people who acknowledge they were 25 and up would do hella weird stuff. And he doesn't want to acknowledge that simple fact. This guy absolutely knows what's going on inside their game. He literally said they have the chat logs of every single chat they've had in game. How easy do you think it would be to go into those logs and just filter out certain words? You don't even have to be doing this in real time and find those individuals and remove them from the game. The problem is I don't think he's ever done it himself. That's why he's acting the way he does. He doesn't know, or he doesn't know to what extent it's happening, or he knows and he's just playing dumb. In either case, he loses.
Say whatever they want. They can talk about all the new safety features that they're rolling out, but it means nothing if lawsuits are being filed every single week against the company and headlines are making the media about a new horrible situation happening because of this platform. I also want to say how they totally mischaracterize how I run my decoy operation. We are never the first to engage with any of the predators. They always contact our decoy account first.
So we saw these actors, they're pretending to be kids, they're trying to find adults, and then what they're doing is they're trying to move the conversation as quickly as possible to other platforms.
And again, to be fair, he might be saying, half-truths. The chief safety officer might not be directly referring to Schlep when he's referring to these instances, but it is 100% implied that he could be one of them. So he's not lying per se, only technically lying.
Other platforms that don't have the type of monitoring and policies that Roblox has. And then they were using that activity that happened on other platforms to create situations that they would then video, they would report to the police, and then only after would they let Roblox know.
So what they're essentially saying is, people like Schlep are the ones who are creating predators. That's exactly what he said. And to add to that, the only reason why they would have a problem with moving the conversation off platform is because they can no longer monitor the conversation. And what happens when you can't monitor the conversation? If law enforcement gets to the predator first, they could be at risk for liability. They could be seen as negligent. They want to be able to say, well, we didn't know. We can't fix what we don't know. And if Schlep bypasses them, Roblox loses plausible deniability. It makes them look, basically complicit. If Schlep reports the predators to Roblox first, they can say we didn't know until we were told. And at the moment we knew, we acted. That keeps them looking like they're responsible. But if Schlep skips Roblox and goes straight to law enforcement, which now Roblox looks like they're the last to know, which means they can't claim ignorance. And to outsiders, it looks like a YouTuber, someone who has no tools besides their own ingenuity, solved a problem their $1 million safety system, their $1 billion safety system couldn't. So basically, if Schlep finds the predators first, it makes Roblox look bad. Not because they have predators on the inside, but because they were negligent and didn't do anything about it. Not like they did anything about it when Schlep's mother emailed them multiple times. Not like they did anything about it when Public Bathroom Simulator was up for years. Not like they did anything about it when their chief officers refused to acknowledge the situation.
Roblox is accusing me of encouraging adults to talk inappropriately to people they shouldn't. That is not true, and if it was true, I wouldn't have a single arrest. We present.
And so what if it was true? If you're a good and proper person, if you're a proper adult, someone with values, someone with principles, you wouldn't be swayed by some random person on the internet baiting you. If you give crack to a crackhead, they're not going to betray your expectations. 10 out of 10 times. If you give crack to a normal person, they're going to call the police on you. Or walk away because you're a weirdo. Either one.
Ourselves as a naive kid who doesn't know about these topics. Crimes like this should obviously be reported to law enforcement first, not Roblox. If Roblox is notified before the police, they can delete accounts, tip off the predators that are being investigated, and give them a chance to erase valuable evidence that the police need to prosecute.
And this is under the assumption that Roblox is infested with predators within their teams. That's what he's implying here. And it's insane to me that he has to make that assumption. Why would any company align themselves with predators? If even a single word of that gets out, it's game over. No company would be willing to risk that unless they themselves have predators on the inside. To me, that's an insane natural conclusion to that argument.
The fact that these predators are on the platform to begin with shows that their safety systems have failed. If
or are working as intended. Yeah, that could also be a possibility.
Roblox did their jobs, there wouldn't be anybody for us to find. Roblox also claims that I'm moving these players to other platforms, but those platforms are linked directly on Roblox's own site. Roblox has actually even partnered with some of those platforms. They even own a bot on that other platform. Anyone can make an account 13 plus and see social media links on Roblox, and unsurprisingly, people in real life have been abducted because of this feature that Roblox allows. And when they say I'm creating these situations, that's just insulting. I'm not creating situations. These predators are trying to grab people within your community.
Well, the reason why they're saying you're creating this situation is that it justifies them attacking you. So basically them saying you're the reason why these predators exist, why you're creating them, is so to them, to eliminate the predator problem, they have to eliminate you.
There's a bunch of issues in here. Number one, the violation of our policies about being honest about how old you are. Number two.
What the fuck? You have a policy where you aren't allowed to lie about your age. Has this guy ever talked to any real person outside of his little fucking group?
Moving conversations off platform. And number three, waiting to tell Roblox when they identified violative behavior to come and tell us so we could take action.
And Mac.
Well, what action did you take the first time? Well, what exactly did you do the first time? And the second time? And the third time? If you don't take any action then, what makes me think the fourth time is going to be any different? It's like getting back with your abusive ex 3 times and saying on the 4th time, it's going to be different. I'm sorry, but if anybody thinks like that, they need a slap across the face.
So we could take action.
In Matt Coffin's own words, in articles about vigilantes, he said law enforcement officials are best positioned to investigate potential crimes. So why is he criticizing us for going to the police first? And it's not like we're not even reporting these things to Roblox. We do. We give Roblox the same Google Drive that we give to the cops. They have the first chat log till the very end where they're in handcuffs. And we have numerous fully documented instances where Roblox refused to take action until after we released videos that got millions of views. Also,
and again, it just goes back to they don't want one of their developers getting caught. Again, I think it's probably just that simple. That's the most obvious answer I can think of. Imagine what a scandal it would be if one of their developers got caught again. They don't want that risk. That's why it's deny, 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 and accuse, 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 instead of taking any accountability for their actions, for their lack of inaction. And the only time any company, by the way, well, most companies will be willing to take action is when enough people start giving them shit about it.
Waiting to tell Roblox in general is a policy violation? If you were on Roblox and went straight to the authorities instead of reporting it to Roblox first, could you technically be violating Roblox's terms of service?
I think some of these groups started off in a really good place, and they started off, really, and they still do really care about the community. The actions that they were taking were putting our community at greater risk and were violations of our policy.
It's important to note the statistic about the average predator. The average predator has about 6 to 11 victims before they're arrested, and over their lifetime, it's probably as high as 100 plus, if they're ever even stopped. This is just for one of these animals. So when this guy says, putting our community at greater risk, which community is he talking about? Which community does he identify with?
He says I'm putting the community at risk. Roblox even went as far to accuse me and my team of being similar to predators. Think about that. They're implying I am preying on predators. So
yeah, he's preying on the predators. That's exactly what he's doing. And there's nothing wrong with that. At least not in the average person's eyes. But if you are on the side of the predator, now that's a little different.
To Matt Kaufman and David Bazuki, I'm very sorry for preying on the predators of your platform and getting them arrested and put in handcuffs, because I didn't ever want to see kids go through what I went through.
These actors that were coming on the platform, they were reaching out to dozens and dozens of people, and the vast majority of those people were not responding to those engagements, and frankly, were harmed in that process.
I'm gonna show you this predator I caught. I sent a message in the chat and I got this guy messaging me.
Yes, okay, how old are you? I ask him back how old he is, and he says he's older than 18. I tell him I'm years old. Do you mind me being younger? No, not really. If you can keep it a secret between us, though. And he does Predator Strat 101. He asks for my Snap or Discord. And the reason why he's asking for Snap is because the messages delete. I tell him Discord, and I get on Discord with him, and the messages begin right away.
Throughout that entire process, where did I harm anyone? Because the real harm was Roblox letting this game exist on their platform for years. It only disappeared after Hindenburg, an investment research firm, went ahead and exposed Roblox for hosting this experience. And conveniently, it vanished the moment they showcased this predator catch. Notice as well how I wasn't the one to ask for Discord or Snapchat. The predator.
Notice the pattern here. The only time Roblox ever takes action is when it's in the public eye and when a lot of people are paying attention. And honestly, it would not make a single lick of difference to me if you are someone who are portraying yourself as a child. If you as the child are the first one to ask for off-platform messaging right after you ask them for your age, just like what the chief safety officer was saying how the order of operations was going on a while ago, any sane of mind adult would say, you know what, this kid is a little bit of a red flag. Why is he asking me all these weird ass questions? Why would anyone want to talk to a fucking kid off platform? For what reason? Especially in the previous context of the conversation. And I understand there are many Discord groups with many different age ranges, oftentimes with underage people and with older people in the same group. Like gamers after all, they don't fucking care about age. I don't fucking care about age. If you're a 60-year-old gamer or a kid, I'll treat you the same. If you're a noob, you're a fucking noob. But to start a conversation with how old are you and follow up with what's your Snap or what's your Discord, that is so weird to me. In what world does that not imply you have some sick ulterior motive?
Did. These were the sort of people interacting with our decoys, and so many people are becoming victimized from people exactly like this.
They were normalizing policy violations on the platform.
What? Roblox's own algorithm recommends inappropriate items to people. Roblox actively hosts not safe for work games for children. Roblox themselves, in this interview, doubled down on one of the most infamous instances of inappropriate behavior that they've allowed for nearly a decade, and they're really going at me for normalizing policy violations. Absolutely unbelievable.
And the other piece is oftentimes the sort of evidence that was collected, the video evidence, was really difficult to verify, really difficult for us. And if law enforcement had to verify it, then they're talking about subpoenas. And so I think something that sometimes seems obvious to folks in the community really is just much more complicated on the back end.
Great. So apparently, the solution to this problem, according to her, is to ignore the problem in its entirety. Because it's so hard, oh my god, it's so hard to verify the evidence. Ooh. Will they manage to remove an entire server overnight? So how complicated can it be? You don't need subpoenas. You can see their entire chat history. You have that power. This lady is so stupid and playing so dumb. It's embarrassing.
Again,
I'm not sure how the evidence that I was sending you guys was hard to verify. I sent you guys screen recordings of us scrolling through the entire chat on mobile. And a lot of the stuff that happens is happening directly within Roblox. Like
I mean, to be fair, it's very easy, although very tedious, to fake those messages, especially out of Roblox. But at the same time, these are again just half-truths. While they are hard to verify outside of Roblox, inside their own system, where the conversations initiate, it's very easy for they themselves to have and look at the chat logs. They themselves have said it. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist, it doesn't even take a psychologist to know when certain questions are asked in succession of each other, like, how old are you? Oh, you are young. You mind giving me your snap? If you ask certain questions and make certain statements in succession, there is an implication.
instance, when Roblox refused to ban this predator, we got arrested in Hawaii, and he was literally talking in-game about planning the meetup in real life on Roblox. With all that being said, I wanted to ask someone who's been working with law enforcement and has been doing predator catching since before I was even born. So I decided to take a seat with Chris Hansen to catch some answers.
I'm Chris Hansen. I'm co-founder and correspondent reporter for the True Blue Streaming Crime Network. We do a lot of crime and investigative reporting. Our Takedown series, which exposes predators trying to exploit children online. And we also work on a number of documentaries, including this particular project, exposing the sort of thing that goes on Roblox.
I wanted to ask you about some of the comments that Roblox has specifically stated about like predator catching. One of the main complaints is pretending to be a child. I want to know your answer. It's kind of obvious, but the importance of using decoy accounts to just find different predators.
Well, we couldn't do it without using decoy accounts. In the very beginning, we had an online watchdog group, Prefer to Justice, do that work. And now, and for the last several years, it's been members of law enforcement who have posed as children online, merely sitting in one of these areas, and they wait to be approached by somebody who is seeking to exploit children. And then the conversation takes place. It all happens according to the law, and then that gets turned over. Now,
Exactly. You can't lure a pig out to play without food in your hand. It's that simple. You can't fish if you don't have a lure.
And that anytime somebody is not with law enforcement, it gives pause to a corporation. It's like, okay, here's this kid. We don't know whether he's following the rules properly. We don't know if he's running this by a lawyer. Maybe you could argue that they just don't want that sort of activity on their platform, but you think they'd be more worried about the activity that you're exposing.
Oh yeah, they're worried about exposing themselves. They're worried about exposing themselves to negligence. They're worried about exposing themselves to liability. They're worried about exposing themselves as wolves in sheep's clothing.
That's what I've been trying to get at this whole time.
Let's worry about that, number one, and then you can have a conversation with young Schlep. I mean, if I were the CEO of Roblox, I would make you an ambassador for security. I would get out in front of this thing and do what would be a fantastic promotional move. I'm a little dumbfounded that they haven't figured it out, given that.
Oh, they have figured it out. 100% they have figured it out. There's no way they haven't figured it out. Again, they have teams on teams figuring this out. They are a freaking multi-billion-dollar company. Well, again, there is a very low probability you can attribute this to just being stupid. But at the same time, how much stupid can you have in one company, right?
These guys are in the high-tech world who invented this stuff in some ways. why don't they get ahead of it and get a young guy on their team?
That's
what I'm doing with you, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's not that hard to figure out. I learned a long time ago that if you're not listening to the youngest guy or girl in the room, you're missing opportunity. You have to evolve and you have to keep on top of this technology and you have to bring new ideas into the room to do your job. My job is to expose bad people. You are helping.
I mean, the thing is, I've made it very, very clear to Roblox since the beginning. Give us a private line. We are open to communicate with you. We want to talk with you guys. We know a lot of these really bad actors, and the first official contact I had with them was the cease and desist letter.
It's horrible from a public image standpoint. I mean, you're killing the messenger, right? It's not like you're out there tracking these guys down with, tasers and smoke guns. I mean,
Great point. Okay, let's analyze this logically. If we ignore the predators, they're invisible. But if you catch them, now we look bad. So really, you made predators exist by exposing them. It's like telling hospitals to stop testing for COVID to decrease the amount of cases artificially, to make the government look like they're doing a good job. And this happened in many countries, by the way.
you're providing information to the platform to do something about it.
One of the major complaints that Roblox had about me was that I was actually going to law enforcement first before sending their report, just so that they would have a start to finish conversation of everything that took place. Did you guys ever reach out to social media sites before this sting goes down?
No.
Why the fuck? What do you want to... Why the fuck would you want to go to the middleman when you can go straight to the shop? I mean, it sounds like a huge waste of time. Just go straight to the police, to the people who are enforcing the law. They're the ones who at the end of the day are going to verify everything. So why do you need Roblox to verify and then give that and then wait for them to give that to the police for them to verify again? Like, oh my God.
We always go to law enforcement. And we work with law enforcement in everything we do. And that is to ensure a successful prosecution. That's why the prosecution rate in these states is, like 99.1%. It's law enforcement first, then they can deal with the corporation. The corporation should be more concerned about reporting what it finds to law enforcement to investigate.
I'm going to read to you a quote from Roblox's corporate blog describing our operations, similar to actual predators.
And you see it's this rhetoric again of labeling certain entities a certain way in order for it to make it okay to attack them. It's an assumption that because you are a predator yourself, which they're making the intentional association, by the way, you are not someone that should be trusted. You are not someone who has any authority in the matter. They're basically trying to drag your reputation in the mud so that you lose any and all credibility. And the only question you need to ask these types of people is, why do you label me as such? Why do you label me as a predator? What specifically did I do to get labeled as a predator? And as soon as you ask that question, you watch them squirm. And you just keep asking why? And why? And why? And sooner or later, the real reason will come out. And oftentimes that reason is going to be stupid.
Often impersonate my actively approach users and then try to lead them onto different platforms to have really explicit conversations. We obviously do not talk to these predators. We don't impersonate real children. Our decoys are, adults.
Well, I think if they're mischaracterizing what you're doing, that's wrong. Based upon what you've said to me, you don't actively bait these guys in terms of making the first approach. You merely set up a profile of somebody who's underage, and you exist in that room until an adult approaches one of your decoys.
And again, it might not even be Schlep himself. And again, it's not Schlep himself who is doing these. And again, it's not even Schlep himself who is using these techniques. They are talking about other predator catchers who are using these techniques. So it's just PR 101. They're using words to obfuscate what's really happening, to make it so vague you don't know what's going on. They're talking in generalities, so that when you call them out on it, they have an excuse. Oh, I'm not talking about you. It's not you specifically. We're just talking in generalities.
Conversation takes place, they get exposed, and that information gets turned over to law enforcement. And in many cases, they do something, and then you report that both on your platform as a citizen journalist, a young guy working on these stories, and to Roblox to take action as a corporate citizen.
I thought it was kind of wild how they compared what we're doing to actual predators.
Well, if they're mischaracterizing what you're doing, yeah, that's horrible. This entire project is going to be healthy for Roblox, and it's going to be especially good for for users of Roblox, because anything that creates awareness and a dialogue is important. And you need to tell parents that this stuff exists, that these dangers are out there, and that if your child is approached by a predator, they need to come to the parents.
I think one of the biggest reasons why Roblox doesn't want this to come to light, and why they're actively trying to mischaracterize Schlep, destroy his reputation, serve him a cease and desist letter to stop his noble cause, is because as soon as parents find out that there's even one predator on Roblox, like they don't already know, they wouldn't want their child playing that game at all. Because if there's one, there's bound to be more. It's the same reason why people don't want to live in the ghetto. They don't want to live in areas with higher crime rates. They don't want a chance encounter with an enemy NPC. They don't want to be constantly living with the fear of getting PK'd because they're living in a PvP zone. So what do those people choose to actively pursue in that situation? They actively pursue to change their home's location to a better place. In the same way, why would I want my child to be placed at risk even if that risk is 1%? Why would I want my child knowingly to be placed at risk? Any normal parent wouldn't. This entire project isn't going to be healthy for Roblox. Not at all. This is going to do one thing. It's going to bring attention that this platform is infested with animals, predators, and no matter what they do, no matter what system they implement, this problem will always persist. Because when you think about it, supply and demand, there's an infinite supply for these predators in this game. They will not let up so easily. Think about games, think about competitive games with all these anti-cheating software. No matter how much, no matter how good your software is, there will always be newer and better ways to circumvent that. Even outside of gaming, take ad blocker for example. YouTube has been trying to fight ad blocker for so long, and every time they succeed, what does ad blocker do? It just gets better. Same thing. Most parents cannot monitor every single conversation a child has on the internet with their friends, with randoms, whoever. That's just not going to happen. And most kids, because of their lack of experience, because of their lack of knowledge, even when they are taught, they will not know when they are being groomed. They will not know when they are being preyed upon. They're kids. What the fuck do they know? So the only logical conclusion is either you eliminate all predators from your site, which the only way you can do that is with Real ID. But then again, it's not going to solve everything. Or I take my child off the platform. Those are the only two real choices you have as Roblox. But even now, it's too late. They've already been banned in China. They've already been banned in Qatar. And lots of other countries are also looking at banning them. I think what happens to Roblox now will absolutely set an incredible excuse as to why Real ID is a good thing. I mean, when you look at China, when you look at Korea, they've implemented Real ID. And while there are many advantages to Real ID on the internet, there are also many horrible, terrible second-order effects, like censorship, like restraining freedom of speech, data breaches where millions of IDs are leaked, sold, and reused for fraud. The T app, for example. Those are the things that come to mind. And I'm sure the list goes on.
That's the first line of defense. It's great what you're doing. It's great what I do. And it's really great that law enforcement and the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children does all this work every day across the country. It's great that Roblox has a department that takes a look at some of this stuff. What's not great is the lack of connection here that could make it even better and safer. Until that happens, we have to show parents what goes on here. And they have to have the discussion with kids and say, hey, be careful.
What made you interested into getting into Roblox?
I was personally getting communications on social media saying, you need to look into this, you need to look into this, you need to.
I'm pretty sure, you know what, if they actually went through the entire chat log history in Roblox, the amount of predators that would get flagged just by searching certain word combinations, the amount of predators would be staggering. I think this problem as we're seeing it now is just completely unfathomable compared to the actual real amount of these animals on these platforms. I think the amount of predators on Roblox is exponential. And that's one of the biggest reasons they're trying to silence this problem. Because if it is found, even 1% of 100 million, or even 0.5% of 100 million people, that's 500,000 predators. That's a lot. No parent would want their child on a game with 500,000 predators. Even 100,000 is scary.
Looking into this, and then we saw a big case down in Florida where a guy was arrested in Central Florida for and actually giving them Robux and having them exploit siblings and other. It made headlines down in Marion County, Florida. And so I started digging into it. We had good contacts at that sheriff's department there. And we actually, ironically, just did a predator sting, a takedown sting down there. So we started with an interview there. And it turns out that in the same jurisdiction, there was a year-old girl who was exploited on Roblox by a man all the way over in England. And so we interviewed that victim's mother, and all of a sudden all these cases started developing, including the lawsuit by the Attorney General in Louisiana.
It's interesting you mentioned Florida, because we got an arrest there. We got it in Polk County, and it was a guy who possessed.
Polk County, as you know, is where Sheriff Grady Judd is, and they're very active in this space.
Oh, yeah.
We do work with them as well. First of all, it breaks my heart, and I'm so sorry that you had to deal with this as a younger guy on this particular platform. The fact that you were bullied and preyed upon and advantage of, and that it went to the extent it did, it breaks my heart. And this is why we do these investigations. But to see you at your age turn it into a positive and do something about it, I think is incredible and admirable.
Thank you.
100%. Absolutely. People who do this type of work, they are put in a very dangerous situation, by the way. That's why the word vigilante is frowned upon, is because it can be very dangerous for every individual that's in the situation. So people who are actively putting themselves in danger to protect the future generations absolutely be appreciated, commended, and helped in any way possible. This is just a testament to companies are not your friend. No matter what benefit you receive from them, no matter what moral justice it is they're trying to accomplish, companies, experts, and the governments, these people are not your friends. They have their own self-interests. And the only time you benefit from these companies are when you and their own self-interests align. We're basically walking money bags to these people. And I understand that's a very pessimistic thing to say, but that's just reality. COVID taught that to everybody. BLM taught that to the blacks. And now Roblox has taught that to every parent and kid alike.
I appreciate
For a guy who's been kicking around doing this for 42 or 43 years now, it's really cool because when I started on television, I was your age. I was 22 years old. So when I see a young person do this kind of work, it's very impressive to me because I know what it takes.
Yeah, I mean, it's very crazy when you start looking into this stuff. I mean, it's a rabbit hole. It only gets more disturbing the more you see it.
Well, and since we announced that we're doing this documentary and that you are collaborating, I am overwhelmed.
Oh, yeah. I saw a tweet on Twitter. It got like 160,000 likes that you're just even looking into the platform. Because that's the thing. People have known about these issues for so long, but journalists haven't done enough to like really look into it. And now it's starting to break into the world where everybody is starting to start to be aware.
Well, now you're seeing more mainstream, outlets cover it. And
yeah.
Look, we have the ability to infiltrate this world because we've been doing it for 21 years. First with To Catch a Predator, and for the last 2.5 years at True Blue, our streaming crime network, with Takedown. So we know how to do this and work with law enforcement. Now, a lot of people can go out and do this stuff independently, but here you are, a good example of somebody who has done the work and given it to law enforcement. And that's the key here, because if you expose these guys and, make fun of them and do a Borat kind of thing, like some other content creators, they often don't face the consequences.
Yeah, and I think absolutely that makes the biggest difference between Schlep and a lot of these other content creators, is that Schlep gets shit done. There are actual consequences when he's involved. And that's all that matters. Results are all that matters. Some of these other content creators, they only do it because they're getting paid.
They don't have to register as offender. They don't get prosecuted.
Yeah, and I think the thing is too, a lot of the reason why I have to make this content is because we reach out to Roblox, we give them the emails, we give them all the information. They don't respond until after we publish a video that gets millions of views on YouTube. It makes me concerned because if we're getting that, what are real victims getting?
Look, I understand.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's the same reason why a lot of content creators will get banned on YouTube, will get banned on Twitch for seemingly stupid reasons. Double standards. They don't get any justice because they are nobodies. The only reason why you're getting traction is because you know how to control attention. And so for people who don't know how to control attention, they will approach someone who does. They will approach news outlets, they will approach journalists, they will approach people like you in hopes of getting their story out there, in hopes of getting noticed by the authorities. We live in an attention economy where real accountability is tied to public outrage. And it's fucked up. It really is.
And a little bit Roblox situation here. What they're trying to do is follow the protocol. When they see something, they're mandated to report that to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, which then refers it to law enforcement. And that's good, and they should be doing that. But why they wouldn't also take advantage of information given to them, wrapped with a bow around it, as you have done, it's stunning to me that they wouldn't see the opportunity here to be an ally of yours as opposed to somebody who they're making an example of and saying you're breaking the rules, banning you. I don't understand that.
You don't understand that because it's not logical. It's not logical because there are people on their team who have vested interest in having this problem continue as it is. That's why they don't do anything. If you want logical, you need to go and subpoena every single person in any relevant position, especially the higher ups. Check all their message logs to make sure they're not prioritizing profit over the safety of their own user base, the safety of the kids.
From a corporate citizen aspect, it doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm. From a public relations standpoint, it doesn't make sense. And from a justice-seeking standpoint, it doesn't make sense. So I don't know, and I hope that during the course of this, that I'll get a chance to sit down with somebody at Roblox. And I have a feeling that's going to happen. But I'm going to be posing all of those questions when that interview takes place.
To young people who look up to you and see predators in online spaces, what is the single most important step that they can take to protect themselves?
Get off the platform as soon as possible. Enough people get off the platform, Roblox will be able to say, fuck, this is a problem. We need to fix this. We need to get our user base back, get off the platform. As soon as enough people start costing them enough money, the higher ups, higher than the CEO, will say, fuck this. This is, kind of a problem that, you gotta fix. And so how will they fix this problem? Introduce Real ID. 85% of this problem will go away instantly. Introduce censorship, filtering certain words so you can easily identify these animals. Conduct public executions of these animals. Pushing out stories in the news, collaborating with Chris Hansen and Schlep. All these things will contribute to solving this problem.
I would be hesitant to tell people to conduct their own investigations, but I'm adamant that you got to report this stuff to your local law enforcement agency. You got to report it to the service provider. You got to report it to the platform. Hopefully, between those three things, you get some action.
Didn't work. Get off the platform.
I think 15, 20 years ago, law enforcement would be a little overwhelmed by this and say, if you're in a small town, you go to the police department, say this happened, they say, okay, well, I'm not sure how to investigate it. Well, today, every department has the ability to investigate this stuff, and they are very willing to take these cases up.
It's an absolute honor to have Chris Hansen featured on this channel. Chris Hansen is flying me out soon to actually feature in his Roblox documentary about exploitation. With everything that we've learned so far, one question persists. Why did I get this cease and desist? I'll let this alleged former Roblox employee answer this question for you.
You have to make a decision, right? You keep your players safe, but then it would be less of them on the platform. Or you just let them do what they want to do, and then all the numbers look good, and investors will be happy.
And this is the wrong mindset. When you actively show people you are enforcing the laws, enforcing the regulations, enforcing the rules to keep your players safe, and you reduce the risk of players getting preyed upon, I would say more players would flock to your game. If you have a trail with lots of different wild animals like bears, wolves, and so on and so forth, and people are constantly getting preyed upon, people will stop going to this trail. But when you eliminate all the animals, your trail is pretty good, people will come back because you've eliminated the risk. When you give the people what they want, who knew that people would think highly of you?
You might just be thinking this is one alleged Roblox employee. Well, Bloomberg is claiming that 8 Roblox employees told a very similar story to this in 2024. Roblox actively forces victims of the platform into arbitration, a tactic so unethical that platforms like Uber and Lyft actually have policies against doing this.
Because they don't want the public knowing about whatever lawsuits they have against them. That's every single company in existence. Even Uber and Lyft would rather settle it out of court, out of the news. There are many false suits that are filed against companies, fraudulent suits, and that is without a doubt going to affect their reputation, and not in a good way. That's not to excuse what Roblox is doing, but that's just what reality is.
The reason they're doing it is even more outrageous. Because this person received so many benefits from using the platform, he cannot now complain that Roblox is trying to prevent him from seeking justice in court for the life-altering harm he suffered. Here's why I personally care so much about this problem.
Who's been offered free?
The reason they're doing it is even more outrageous. Because this person received so many benefits from using the platform, he cannot now complain that Roblox is trying to prevent him from seeking justice in court for the life-altering harm he suffered. Here's why I personally care so much about this problem.
Who's been offered free Robux to do something that was inappropriate in the game? Or someone has said, I'll give you some free Robux if you come and follow me on Snapchat or TikTok or something like that. Who's had that happen? Okay, loads of you.
I've seen a lot of corruption in big tech, but I've never seen a company harm this many young people at the scale Roblox has. They can say whatever they want about safety or try to discredit me, but the arrests and their response to those arrests speak louder than any PR statement that they could possibly make. This isn't just about moderation. The rot goes all the way up to the CEO, a man whose vision includes adding dating to this platform and defending predatory games like Meep City. It's not even negligence, it's his literal philosophy.
Wait, what the fuck? Isn't this a fucking kids game? Like, holy shit, this guy is so sick in the head. I guess this is just what happens when you're the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company. You're a little, removed from reality, to say the least. You know what the rest is.
Narrative around Roblox needs to change. People have to understand what this platform actually is. Share what's happening, talk about it. Make sure your friends, parents, journalists, and lawmakers know how deep these problems run. Call your congressman and tell him you won't stand by while Roblox puts children in danger. I've been sounding the alarm for over a year as a whistleblower, and Roblox's leadership has tried to silence me. What needs to happen is David Baszucki needs to sit in front of Congress under oath, and he needs to explain why so many people have been abducted and abused on his platform, and why his company is choosing profits over safety.
What needs to happen is that they need to go to every single text message in the history of this person being the CEO, everyone underneath him, every decision maker in the company, and even to the extent of the developers themselves. They need to look at all of their messages, and if they find even a single message about them prioritizing profits over child safety, over protecting their user base, protecting the future generation of the human species, by the way, and I really doubt it's going to be that hard, they need to charge them with negligence, consumer protection violations, obstruction of justice, reckless endangerment, everything. They need to charge them with everything they can find. There needs to be jail time, real accountability before any real changes happens. And 100% I'm sure they're going to find some, other sketchy things in their messages. I don't know what that is, but I know that's what's most likely going to happen if they do that. I think the situation is a lot worse than we actually know. Overall, I view this situation as a learning example for every other account. There really does need to be, some sort of legal repercussion for Roblox. I mean, they're already experiencing it via the bans in other countries, but some degree of personal accountability. Because it's not necessarily the company that's making the decisions. These are actual living people who are acting in this manner. And as soon as you introduce any sort of personal accountability, especially at the highest levels, you're going to see an incredible shift in care towards this consumer base that these CEOs will have at least for the next couple of years. Like take, for example, Luigi Mangione versus United Healthcare. I'm sure many CEOs changed their behavior after that entire situation. Now, the consumer didn't necessarily benefit from the change in behavior. What most likely happened was the CEOs got more security and became more cautious. But at the same time, when you have real consequences for your actions, behaviors do change. And it's a real testament as to why the entire world functions on reward and punishment. Every single behavior that every single person in history and who will be born into the future will function by this reward and punishment structure.